Hello Kindred Longevity Lifestyle Designers, this is Zach here with secretsoflongevity.com. There is a lot of talk online about colostrum. Some people love it, some people hate it, and I've heard a lot of different opinions on it, and I just wanted to sort of give my take on what I think is a complete myth and what is actually fact. So there are some people that make the claim, without any basis, that colostrum promotes cancer growth, that colostrum makes you fat, and that colostrum is unhealthy for us in general. So when I'm talking about colostrum, if you're unfamiliar with that term, it's bovine colostrum, so colostrum from a cow, and this is the first milk that comes out that the cow produces an excess amount of. The calves of cows need a certain amount, but they can only take in so much. So the excess is collected by farmers, and they either sell it to a company that will distribute it in some sort of supplement form, or some farmers sell it directly to their consumers, either frozen or fresh, if you happen to be able to get it in that form. Now, personally, when I get it fresh, I get grass-fed, organic, local colostrum. But you can also get it in a powder form, and the ideal form of that is Thrival's product, which is spray-dried, which is technically falls under pasteurization, so they're allowed to distribute it, but it's actually still intact, and it's been third-party tested to be shown to be the only colostrum on the market that meets all the criteria of what fresh colostrum is able to do in the human body in terms of immune boosting qualities, growth factor enhancing qualities, inflammation reducing qualities, and all these other myriad of benefits that colostrum's known for. I just have to say it's a complete food. It has every essential amino acid, essential fat, even a lot of non-essential fats that are just beneficial to have. Every known type of sugar, at least the simpler sugars, obviously not every single polysaccharide, but it does contain some, so it has an immunomodulatory effect. If you want to learn more about all the properties of colostrum, this amazing food, you can check out the first link below, which goes to a page on my site where I have an article written, and if you're really keen to grab some yourself, you can get it from Thrival at the link below that. Now the other links below that are, there's going to be 8 studies I've posted. I'm going to talk about what each one showed that colostrum has in terms of what they were studying, what aspect of it, and what effect it has in certain cases. And literally I've been looking, and I cannot find a single negative thing in the scientific literature on human consumption of bovine colostrum. So I would definitely put a call out there for anyone that has something negative to say about it to actually back themselves up. Show me a study that shows some negativity of it. I'll have a look at that study, see if it was done legitimately, and we can start to get an opposite side of view on this. One study isn't going to mean it's the end of the benefits of colostrum, because there's just simply tons and tons of studies out there showing its benefits. These are just 8 on 4 different topics, so 2 for each topic that I'm going to describe now. So the big factor is that I have 2 studies, which are the first 2, I've got them numbered 1 and 2, show that colostrum can be used during someone has cancer or they're healing from cancer. So if the typical statement that is made where the IGF-1 levels which are raised are going to stimulate cancer growth, at least they do with synthetic IGF-1, this just simply is not true with colostrum, because the first study shows that it's been used to treat intestinal cancers, and it even reduces intestinal inflammation. So this is completely against that idea of cancer growth being promoted by IGF-1. I tend to think of it a little bit as you can isolate fructose and have it in high fructose corn syrup or agave with no fiber, no minerals, in a completely foreign form that we'd never encounter in nature, and we can consume that, and we can get metabolic syndrome, fatty liver, diabetes, or at least high insulin resistance at first, which would develop into diabetes. And yes, those things are horrendous and we don't want to get those, but when you're consuming fruit, it's not going to have anywhere near the same effect as consuming high fructose corn syrup. So when something's taken in isolation, it has a much different effect on the body than when it's in a whole food and has a whole symphony of effects with all these different nutrients and medicinal compounds that work with each other synergistically to perhaps knock down the negative side effects of any one nutrient that would have that effect on its own. And then the second study there is on a post-cancer treatment. So this is in children that were recovering from cancer, and they were using colostrum in this sense to help deal with the lowered immune system from cancer treatments. So that raises the immune system, it's good for your health, and it prevents the return of the cancer, oddly enough, despite, again, that claim that it's going to cause cancer growth. Next, studies 3 and 4 are about colostrum's ability to boost the immune system. It almost has a vaccine-like quality to it. And the first one you may have heard Daniel Vitalis reference because it's just a pretty amazing study and an amazing result. And they were comparing, through a controlled clinical study, the effects of colostrum versus a normal flu vaccine. And they found that colostrum is 3 times better at boosting the immune system, preventing the contraction of that type of flu, whereas the flu vaccine just did pretty poorly. And really interestingly enough, they even had a few different groups. They had the colostrum group, they had the vaccine group, and they had the control group, and then they also had the colostrum and vaccine group. The colostrum group did better by one person in terms of one less person getting sick as the combined group. And then of course the just vaccine group had quite a number, like drastically more sickness. It was 3 times more. And then the untreated group actually had the most. They also repeated a similar controlled study with heart disease patients who, I guess in those cases, were more likely to get sick. And again, the colostrum had the best results on its own with this immune boosting effect. Now the 4th study was from The Lancet, and they found that passive immunization of children with colostrum containing the antibodies to the 4 main types of rotavirus was just as effective. So the way they set this study up was 2 groups of children, almost the same numbers, and there was the group that had a placebo formula that didn't have colostrum in it. Then the other children, these are very young children, had colostrum in it. So none of the children on the colostrum got any of the rotaviruses, whereas 9 out of the 65 or so children that didn't get colostrum or on the placebo did get it. So that's a pretty significant result, especially when children that young are very susceptible to these illnesses, and they can even prove fatal if there's any other complications going on for the child. So it's important for the mother to give the child the colostrum, but also using bovine colostrum, if that's on hand, is a fantastic food for any child at any age, and it doesn't have any negative side effects, so it is safe for a child to take even while breastfeeding. Studies number 5 and 6 show colostrum's effectiveness at boosting the immune system again, but specifically to knock out an intestinal parasite known as Cryptosporidia, and it's common in AIDS patients if they get this. Basically anyone immunodeficient, so AIDS patients are at risk and they get chronic diarrhea that doesn't go away. But first of all, just cover the first study, which was just a single child. So this isn't a full study, but it did clearly show that this child who had been quite sickly, and when they started them on the colostrum treatment, it took only 5 days to stop this vomiting as well as diarrhea. And there was also something going on with the lungs, which was a fungal infection, but also the Cryptosporidia, which was in the intestines, that stopped, the diarrhea stopped, and also the eggs coming out in the feces stopped. And the lungs healed up as well. And so within 8 days all the symptoms were gone, so it was quite a success. And the other more significant study was on AIDS patients who are, again, like I said, at risk of developing this chronic diarrhea problem because of this parasite that the immune system is unable to fight off. And yeah, the colostrum really bumped the immune system up, and it attacked that parasite, got it out, and they controlled this one, so they found that, yeah, the number of eggs that were coming out in the feces did not change in the control group, but it was definitely significantly lowered in the AIDS patients that were on this treatment. Now, studies number 7 and 8, which you can find at the links below again, are on athletes and showing its ability to raise IGF-1 levels as well as IgA. IgA has an effect on the mucous membranes and improving the immune system there, so preventing sickness, because athletes, especially if high levels of training and preparing for events and whatnot, they're obviously more immune compromised if they overtrain, and this is just a way of, with the IGF-1, it's going to accelerate healing, increase protein synthesis, so the rebuilding and repair phase, and it's also going to prevent their immune system from crashing in that sense. So the first study, which both of these are out of the Journal of Applied Physiology, found that the saliva IgA was raised and the serum IGF-1 was raised, and it was just large amount was raised. So the other thing this confirms is that the IGF-1 in colostrum can be uptaken, whereas some people believe it's completely destroyed in the digestion process, but it is definitely going through and being absorbed through the lining of the digestive tract and contributing to these raised levels of IGF-1. And the second study, which is number 8 in the links below, had some of the same researchers, but they were doing a few different things. You can read the abstract. I've got the full text there as well. And there's some other things going on there that they were testing, but when they were testing the colostrum again, they found the increase in IGF-1, the increase in IgA in the saliva, and again it was just significant and beneficial for the athletes. So anyone saying that you want to have low IGF-1 levels, especially as an athlete, needs to look at their intentions behind those statements, whether they actually want to be talking about what's best for health and improving one's ability as an athlete, or is it just based on we're trying to get you to not consume this product. I mean, if you don't want to consume it because it's an animal product, just say that. But as you can see from these 8 studies, and virtually any other study you find out there on bovine colostrum being taken by humans, or being studied in humans, and its effects, you're not going to find negative effects. So if you have the opinion of being an animal rights activist, and that's your reason for not consuming it, then just make that your reason. Don't make up pseudoscientific claims about the effects of colostrum, because it's very clearly been demonstrated in many arenas to be an incredibly effective and powerful food, supplement, healing modality in and of itself. So if you want to check out more on the effects and constituents within colostrum, check out my article. So buying through the Thrival link below in the link section of below this video, or if you click through on my site on any of the images of the colostrum canisters, that helps support me and helps me continue putting out these information-packed videos. So we've got this size of canister, which is the 6.5 ounce packed full of colostrum, and this is also packed full, which is the 1 kilogram, 2.2 pound container, which again is packed full. This is the better deal for sure. You can get a deal of 3 of these and save a little bit, but this is still a better deal. But this definitely, if you haven't tried it before, you want to see how it works for you, go for the small size. And yeah, let me know what you think of it as well if you do happen to try it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this topic in general. And with that, I'm going to say take care and embrace life without limits.